Normalization is the philosophy that all students are entitled to an education and be provided with opportunities to help them live a life that is as normal as possible for their culture. As defined by UNESCO, one of the key roles as a 21st century teacher is to reject deficient ways of thinking and to ensure that each student reaches their full potential, both in education and in society. Unfortunately, neoliberal government movements counteract this viewpoint, shaping education to fit the needs of the neoliberal society through the introduction of standardized testing and assessment. Over the long term, standardization results in the further decline in the quality of education for minorities and youth of low socioeconomic backgrounds. The political idealism of neoliberalism views students as controllable variables who can be taught using a one-size-fits-all approach. However, when an individual is different from what is viewed as normal, this deficit perspective overlooks the needs of the individual in favor of the politically driven interest of the school. The educational exclusion in which schools or educators prioritize their time and resources on students they consider it will best benefit further places disadvantaged students that they consider to have a low potential for success and therefore a waste of their resources at an academic disadvantage. This form of educational triage not only denies students their fundamental right to an education, but it also puts them at risk in regards to social exclusion and marginalization. The systemic processes of educational triage can be broken down into three categories: those who are perceived to be on track to reach benchmark, those who are perceived to reach benchmark with assistance, and those who are unable to achieve the benchmark. An examination into these triage groups revealed a disproportionate distribution trend of social class, race, and gender. Students that were identified as safe were primarily white, middle to upper class, or female. Students that were deemed to be suitable for treatment were white, middle to upper class, or male, and students that were deemed to be a hopeless case were either from low socioeconomic backgrounds, male, or of a minority ethnicity. The 2017 NAPLAN results revealed that less than half of Indigenous students were reaching the national minimum standard. According to the Ministry of Education, minority students who are from less favorable geographical, social, and cultural backgrounds are the most vulnerable to low academic achievement, truancy, and dropping out before completing high school. The systemic exclusion of Indigenous languages, worldviews, teachings, and experiences in the contemporary Eurocentric education system further alienates Indigenous students from the curriculum content. Educational policy focuses almost exclusively on English language instruction. This means that majority of Indigenous students are set at a disadvantage due to the fact that they are expected to learn their age-appropriate curriculum content regardless of their degree of competency in spoken or written English. Unfortunately, less than 13% of mainstream teachers have had formal training to deal with EALD student learning needs, and due to this, many teachers mistakenly believe that their students' limited language abilities are a reflection of their cognitive abilities. Learners who do not fully understand the language of instruction or receive frequent negative comments from their teachers about their language will become discouraged and not find it meaningful to continue school. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have their own epistemology, which if tapped into using culturally inclusive pedagogy can create authentic learning experiences for a diverse student cohort. The concept of normalization is the recognition that students should not be treated the same, but rather to recognize their differences and provide equity in order for everyone to succeed. Studies have revealed the positive effects of pedagogy that takes into account the student's cultural background and first language. Examples of culturally inclusive pedagogies in Australia are the 8 Ways Learning Framework, Both Ways Education, learner-centered approaches, and a high expectation relationship between the teacher, the student, and their community. Some examples of inclusion in the classroom are providing alternative digital resources, making connections to culture through consultation with the local community, providing opportunities for dialogic learning, incorporating alternative cultural viewpoints and material, utilizing bilingual teaching aids, and make learning relevant through connections to experience, land, or community.